Hey, what's going on? It's Joey Myers from the Hitting Performance Lab, and in this video, I want to give you an example of the CShape Impact and what that means using one of my online hitters, Lauren, who's 11, out of Texas. We're going to go over, give you three examples of elite hitters that you will most likely know, maybe one not, of what the hunched posture looks like. We're going to talk about an exercise that will help to fix the CShape Impact and how I help my hitters get into the hunched posture. So let's start with Lauren, who is 11, out of Texas. And just a few things. She started with me in the Feedback Lab online hitting lesson program October 17th of this year, which is 2016. This was on the left. The video on the left was the most recent video that she sent, and the video before that was about a month before that. So I did a number 4th feedback session, which was a little frustrating, but then Dad sent, or they both sent, this video here on the right, which is off the tee. This is hitting live. We'll kind of talk about that in a little bit, the differences in that. This video was sent 24 hours later, and the fix, the CShape Impact fix, had to do with the hunched posture. Another interesting note is that Lauren can hit 66. Her personal record is 66 miles per hour ball exit speed at 11 years old. Now, before we get started, one of the things that we were working on in this video over here, which I may include as a link in the blog post, and if you're watching this on YouTube, it's going to be the link directly below this video in the About section. You can see the original 15-minute feedback session, number 4 feedback session. And the one thing she knocked out of the park was landing shorter. And for her, it was just landing more with the bent knee. So what you can see here was a lot more straight in the video that was a month before that. But I didn't want to highlight that in this video. I wanted to highlight within 24 hours what the hunch posture helped her do. You can see the difference in her stance, just hunch versus no hunch. So you can see the elbow's a lot higher over here than it is over here, which this isn't the best view to see the hunch position, but you can kind of make it out just from different points of reference. So also the difference hitting off of a tee versus live. Now you're going to have some timing issues obviously on the left that you are not going to have on the right, but in a best case scenario, again, 24 hours later, Lauren was trying to feel this new position out, and that's why probably if she went live on the right here within 24 hours, she probably wasn't going to see a huge difference, but we can see a difference nonetheless. So if we see, as she gets to impact, we'll talk about what the C-shape is, and then you can see the correction. So I see this a lot in my hitters. Now with Lauren, her C-shape really isn't that bad. The C-shape is just what happens the head, the body, the pelvis, and the leg make. They can make, this would be more of a reverse C-shape. So for righties, and then for lefties, it would be a normal C. But what you can see here is you can see this kind of reverse action happening, and it's even worse. You can see here, you can really see the C-shape take hold past or post impact. You see this really happen here, whereas over here you're seeing more of the straight line is what we kind of want to see her stacking with her upper half. So her head, we want to kind of see her head float over her rib cage somewhat, as a righty, for speaking righty, somewhat to the left of her rib cage. So we see rib cage here, and then we see pelvis here. We don't want to see a lot of, like over here, we're going to see a major change. You're going to see the head over here. You're going to see the rib cage is kind of over here, and then you're going to see the pelvis is about right here. So we see a lot better stacking with the head, rib cage, and pelvis on the right with the hunched posture. And the hunched posture really is something that you can start in the stance and just make sure you maintain that throughout the swing. So the big thing that we're trying to get away from, and what we see with hitters with the C-shape impact position and post-impact position, is we see a lot of force being applied to the lower back. The lower back's really having to hyperextend down here because the lower back naturally has a curve to it, has a C curve to it. So it's in what's called lordosis. You're going to see this kind of subtle C shape to the lower back. But in this position, Lauren is hyperextending that area. And so you're going to see some compensations above that. So the head's going to shift, the rib cage is going to shift a little bit, the head's going to shift a little bit, and this is not a very good position to hit from especially at impact. And what it actually causes is we see some bleeding of force. It also, the lower back is destabilized, or the spine is destabilized, because the abdominals start to stretch, and you can see definitely in this position the abdominals are stretching way too much. So the position that we're looking to get our hitters into is very relational to gymnastics. They call it the hollow hold, and it's this girl gymnast down here pushing her lower back into the ground, making a spoon or a hollowed position with her chest. She's bringing her shoulders together, and she's making her back really big on the backside. Where all the action's happening is in the abdominal area. So she's crunching her abdominal, she's pushing her lower back into the ground, and she's creating that spoon effect with her chest. Now that's ideally the position that we're trying to get into. The hunch position is been looked at as very negative type position. We tell our kids at the dinner table to sit up straight and all that kind of stuff. But when it comes to stabilizing the low back and activating the abdominals, the hunch position is really good. And there's a reason why when we're tired that we sit in that position. It's because the spine, the vertebrae in the spine decompress. The abdominals, even though you're not squeezing your abdominals in that position, they are contracting somewhat. So it's a very safe position for the lower back, and it's a very strong position actually. And you're going to see here on a few of these hitters. Now, if we look at, y'all know Ted Williams. Now, in this actual blog post, you can go to the 40-second mark, and you're going to get where you see where Ted Williams is swinging. You can see that big curve of his back before he goes into his swing. You can see it in Pete Rose from the start. This is Pete Rose getting a hit off of Dwight Gooden. You can see from the start, you can see this real curve to his back. Okay, one thing that's happening is he's kind of posteriorly rotating his pelvis backwards. So if your hips or your pelvis is a bowl of water, the posterior tilt of the pelvis would be like water spilling onto your heels, or like Pink Panther, right? The anterior pelvic tilt would be water spilling on your toes and looking more like Donald Duck. So we want to look more like Pink Panther. We want to round the back, and that's how we get into that hunched posture. Here's another one, Saruhara O. He is the career home run leader in Japanese baseball with 868 homers, and he was only 5'10", 173 pounds. And what you're going to see here, this is a compilation of his home runs, but you're going to see the same rounded back. You're going to see kind of one of them here. You can see him rounding as a pitcher gets ready, he rounds it even more as he hits this homer. So that is the hunch posture as we see it applied in the actual swing itself. In the blog post, I go into how to teach your hitters to get into this position, so you can go there to the link below. But the big thing before we end this video I wanted to talk about is my hitters report back their feelings when they're in the hunch posture versus not in the hunch posture. And most of the time my local and online lessons will say it just feels better being in that position. And again, this is their resting position, the exhaling position. It also helps to show numbers in downhill shoulder angle, and that's something that we were working on with Lauren, and she said it seemed to help her do that a little bit better, which we will kind of look at here shortly. And the other important thing is my back feels nothing while swinging, and this is a good thing. A lot of times I have another hitter who's a 13-year-old boy who's had lower back pain, and when he gets into, he's got some other things going on that we're working on, hamstring inflexibility and things like that. But when he gets into the hunch posture, he feels so much better when he swings. He doesn't really feel anything in his spine and lower back. Now again, this is Lauren, and we're looking at the downhill shoulder and showing numbers. This is off the tee, obviously on the right, and this is a normal batting practice where you got timing involved on the left. So it's going to be a little different if we threw her in the cage, throwing pitches to her on the right. She might not look like this quite yet, but it's still, we're working on downhill shoulder angle so much better here, where in this video, which was remember the one before, the month before that, where we were actually doing the number 4 feedback session on, we didn't see much of a change in her shoulder angle or showing her not showing her numbers long enough. Over here, we're seeing a major change in that. We're seeing her a slight downhill angle, much better than we see over here, and we see her showing her numbers a lot easier. And again, that's what my hitters say, is they say it's easier when you're in the hunch position to show numbers and get that downhill shoulder angle. So that is Lauren. Lauren, go easy on those pitchers out there. Make sure that we're swinging smarter by moving better. And before I let you go,
the Hitting Performance Lab wants to know, did you know repeatable hitting power does not start in the hips? Have you heard the expressions, load and explode the hips? Power comes from the hips. Well, we created a free video revealing the results of a scientific study that will show you how we added 48 feet of batted ball distance instantly. And it's not all about the hips. Click here now to get the video while it's still free.